The fact we have 3 series left and SUNSfan is wearing his suspenders as a scarf is a terrible sign for the future of this broadcast. We do, luckily, are going to be casting the last three series, so there's that luck for the viewers. But AndyWand, I think, is going to be a favorite.
Yeah, I think he's a favorite here just because of the lists. Like we said on the panel, I'm not a huge fan of this red-blue list that SuperJJ brought, and I think that's going to ultimately be the downfall, but that doesn't mean that it's not capable of winning, right? Routed against a mono blue list, if he does get a very good quality routed, could turn things around. But in order for that to happen, that would also require AndyWand to potentially make some mistakes and allow that to happen.
We're in the game. AndyWand is once again starting off the series with red-green ramp. He has that big difference, which is the Dark Seer compared to the Omni Knight for JJ. But JJ has started with his control list with red-blue control.
Yeah, he has decided that he wants to lead off with the list that I think is the weakest, and that could just be because he wants to get it out of the way, maybe try to steal a victory with it, or maybe he's just far more confident in it than we are.
The Legion has
Unfortunately for AndyWand, Ion Shell in hand is not what you want to see. You are playing Dark Seer, that's the one huge downside. It's basically a useless card. And having 2 of them in hand already is a terrible start in terms of hand quality. We talked about last series, him having a very good start in his hand in both matches.
I like the idea of the spot weakness getting cycled because you not only draw a card, but you're going to get an early kill with this Bristleback and make him a beefy boy. So great opening round, despite the bad hand for AndyWand, in my opinion. You're going to get, unless there is some sort of combat trick here, a kill on Kana. You secured one on Legion the turn before, and you dodged Bristleback with your tree. So not the greatest hand, but has some things going his way.
Yeah, the Salam in his favor is going to be an okay card to ramp with. Got it from the spot weakness there. You can put that in the first lane, then hope for better draws in the next 2 turns, for example. And Stonehall Cloak, also a great item against control in general.
Yes. I really like putting this favor here in the first lane as well because, let's be honest, this axe isn't going to die. So, well, there you go.
Well, okay, so we're talking about the need for these better draws, and he has them here already.
Wow. So I was going to say if you don't find anything, you can at least spring the trap next turn, but what I suspect we're going to see is this here, and then from the second lane, a Salamania's Fader coming back as well, and then that first lane is just secured at that point, right? If you get a turn 3 Time of Triumph against that lane, it is everything you're hoping for.
And we don't see a duel to stop it either, so 100% I think Andy wants him to do this. Play Time of Triumph onto 3 heroes with Dark Seer mobility being able to be used as well, and at 5 mana, there's little that JJ can do to answer back, even with initiative.
And Stonehall Cloak comes down just to prevent future duels, potentially as well, stalling a little bit. The other nice thing going in AndyWand's direction is that third lane, right, has the Bristleback that's already got the buff, has the melee creep, and after you get this Time of Triumph in the first lane, right, you've got Dark Seer there. You can ship things over to the third lane where you may have momentum. Legion Commander coming down is going to make this a 3-person Time of Triumph.
And with initiative, duel could stop Dark Seer, but because the ramp is already on the board in terms of improvements and there's no need for a Stars Align, for example, there is really no way to stop this Time of Triumph. Axe and Legion both very healthy. And yeah, it's going to be already a fantastic start for Andy. We talked about the 2 Ion Shells being stuck in hand, but then all of a sudden in the next 2 turns, he got fantastic draws. Emissary, Stars Align, I mean, what else could you want?
And to make matters worse, SuperJJ did not find a duel, and without ramp, does not have the ability to Berserker's Call here, so Dark Seer is going to survive. And this is it. On top of this, Andy's drawn Emissary.
Yeah, this is brutal, actually.
The reason that's important is because it was Emissary and Stars Align.
Sorry, Commander.
This is a very, very good hand for Andy. Andy's actually going to have a lot of options here in the second lane, right? Because of Stars Align, well, you're just shy of Emissary, right? But now
the Surge comes down. We can see a Stars Align spring the trap, for example, in lane 2.
Or you could even throw them over into lane 3 if you want to pressure there. I mean, you can kind of do whatever you want if you're Andy.
That was a good answer from JJ with his Bronze Legionnaires trading into both of those creeps, making that lane a lot thinner, but still 2 Time of Triumph heroes in that lane, down to 15 HP, makes it very complex for JJ to come back in that lane, and the rest of them don't look much better either. JJ
taking his time, saying, all right, how do I get out of this? What is my what is my path to victory here? Decides Dimensional Portal is the right option because this lane's already been pressured. You know that you've got to answer back, right? That my opponent has played Time of Triumph, so I need to do something impactful. I need to keep up in terms of tempo, and Dimensional Portal is probably the right call there.
We could see us bring the trap in lane 3, like you said, because against Annihilation, next turn you want to be sure that you can keep this lane, you know, not go all in on one lane, make it as split as possible. But instead, Andy decides to try and trade with these creeps here, put a lot of pressure on this lane, and now SuperJJ has to decide. Yeah. Am I going to annihilate lane 1 or 2? Only one blue hero coming in next turn.
I'm actually really okay with that Spring the Trap there because of the Town Portal. So when Bristleback left, that told me, all right, they are abandoning this lane, right? They're potentially going to annihilate somewhere. So I want to get the Bristleback out, and now you're forcing them to only be able to defend one lane effectively.
And the hand for JJ is looking terrible. No Annihilation. Berserker's Call against heroes that have Time of Triumph already is very tough because they're going to have much better combat stats than you are. And in general, I mean, this is the thing with red-blue control. You have a lot of the great red options, but no ramps. So you're going to be behind every single time, behind that mana curve. And it's looking really rough for JJ here. Has to draw Annihilation to at least be able to stall a tiny bit.
And unfortunately, Annihilation was not the cards drawn. We picked up a Duel, but Duel's going to do nothing in that middle lane when you just have a Canna. And in the third lane, you might be able to answer that Bristleback, but doesn't really matter at that point. You're losing this first lane. If not this turn, the following turn. Like, you could play Stonehall Elite or something to soak some damage, but you're kind of delaying the inevitable.
Mist looks fantastic in lane 2, but again, that Canna might be an indication of Annihilation, or at least a threat of it. So AndyWand, I think, very wisely going to play Emissary here instead. Try and invest into this lane, even though he thinks it's already, you know, pretty much won.
Well, the reason I like this Emissary here is because it enables multiple paths to victory. If you start getting a bunch of creeps here, you could keep the Emissary here, and once this falls, potentially push for 80. If you decide it needs to go somewhere else, because Darkseer is here, you could choose to push the Emissary somewhere else or the Legion Commander. Darkseer enables a lot of different paths for this deck.
And the pump there gets the perfect lethal onto lane 1. AndyWand not looking for lethal onto lane 2. And the Annihilation here would be fantastic for JJ. Initiative also in his favor, but there's a clear answer that he does not have it, and instead now AndyWand can start setting up this lane for the lethal and the game win.
Yeah,
hopefully.
I would personally like to see a Rose Leaf into a Mist here. Rose Leaf would give you the mana, allowing you to then play 7 worth of cards instead of the 6. And it just widens your board that much more. Your opponent clearly didn't have Annihilation, or they likely would have played it. So you're saying, hey, I'm going to continue to pressure and make them top deck an answer. And here comes the Rose Leaf. Again, big fan of this play. And there is the Mist. All right. Thank you, Andy, for making me look like I know what I'm talking about.
Now, unfortunately, Canna will survive. There isn't a kill spell. Only green spells were available this turn for AndyWand, which means that because that blue body is still there, although it's weak, although it's in trouble, it still can be a source of Annihilation if initiative is in favor of JJ. So AndyWand has to be careful not to invest too much. He can't really blink the Bristleback into lane 2, I think would be a bit too risky. He could blink it to lane, well, not anymore.
Yeah. Now, this is actually really important because Andy's now got initiative. Based on the cards he draws, he may end up just passing and not even tapping the Emissary in the first lane, because if you draw Berserker's Call, that could be a massive play in the middle lane. Canna is still in range of a Time of Triumphed Axe, right? So depending on positioning of Ogre, that could be a big deal. Even Duel, right? If you draw any of the red kill spells here for Andy, I think you just pass in this first lane and you kind of secure yourself a victory as a result.
Some creep blockers are coming into that lane, though, and AndyWand does not have enough magics, like you said. Berserker's Call and Duel are the 2 main options in lane 2. Those Ion Shells we talked about, still in hand. I think he'd rather not play them at all this game if possible.
You know, if you were to tell me I could have a start like this, but I had to deal with 2 Ion Shells, I would take it every time. I don't think Andy's that upset about those Ion Shells. All right, big important draw here for both players. SuperJJ looking for defensive options. Andy looking for anything that will help him close out that middle lane, and does not. So this then just opens up. You can do something with the Emissary. You can use Darkseer if you want. There's Blink Dagger for Legion if you want. There's a lot of options here still, but initiative not as important.
You can surge away the emissary to lane 2, but it is very risky. You don't know if your opponent has Annihilation or not. There are, of course, 3 in the deck for JJ. Not in hand right now, though. So I think he will probably not surge anything. I think it's just a safe play, just in case.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think that the surge is necessary. I think that you tap your emissary and you kind of sit and wait, because if there is an Annihilation that goes, that you basically win the game at that point, right? Because both blue heroes are in that lane, so if they were to annihilate, they wouldn't be able to play a second one. And the following turn, you could blink Legion and then use...
But now this Spring the Trap might sell to AndyWand that there is an Annihilation after all. We'll see.
That very well could be something that tips a hand, absolutely.
Could be a trap as well. Could be the Jabet. You play Spring the Trap and then you annihilate anyway to trick your opponent. We'll see what ends up happening here, but information, very important here. Any small action.
Yeah, personally, I like the conservative play of still keeping these cards here. There, you have nothing really to lose in that regard. You can kill Legion Commander, and then, as I said, right, by placing this emissary here earlier, you actually enable maybe an Ancient push, right? And if not, then you can throw things back over post-annihilation. Like, the ball is in Andy's court. It's his game to lose.
Could also blink Darkseer and surge the Legion Commander to lane 3 and defend that as well, and not give SuperJJ any towers at all. Could be an option.
Yeah, I think... I was going to say, I think that they might actually just ship the tree over there, right? All right, so the blink coming down tells me that, yeah, they're going to do exactly what you are recommending.
And of course, great combat stats on Legion, so even without any red spells to play, she will be a problem. Killing the Bristleback just from cleave damage. And making a lot of the plays for JJ, like the Berserker's Call, like the Duel, pretty much useless in that lane.
All right, so missed triggering. This is a big board for Andy.
This is Annihilation check number 1. If it's not used, both blue heroes will be dying, unless a Town Portal Scroll is used, which means that there will be no Annihilation next turn, 100% guaranteed, and that gives Andy so much more, access to be able to kill this without being worried about a board clear.
Right. This is a pretty feels bad at any cost as well. Like, it will clear a large part of Andy's board, but the Time of Triumph Axe is going to survive and still hit that tower pretty significantly if you play that.
Let's show them what we can do.
Sounds good to me.
Ignite coming down. And now Fountain Flask on a tree takes it up to 20 health. That is a high value flask.
There's a Town Portal Scroll on a blue hero just to have that Hail Mary access to the Annihilation next turn if he draws into it. He does have 3 in the deck, so not the craziest thing. Still, though, 23 cards in the deck.
All right, so at any cost does come down just to kind of tamper things, get it under control. But again, like I said, it still feels pretty bad because these heroes are they're in the lane still, right? They got to be contested. All right, Berserker's Call doesn't help you. Nasal Goo, maybe.
Initiative is in favor of AndyWand, so JJ can make plays without being scared about losing initiative. He's already lost it in the last lane. Can't play Viscous Nasal Goo. Wouldn't do too much. Or the routed onto one hero.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could route it for one.
Better than nothing.
For moral support, but...
That's also an option. Here's the board a tiny bit in this last lane. Let's JJ try and push this last few points of damage in lane 3.
Now, you could even, I was going to say, even consider a duel if you're just trying to push damage. I mean, it's not a duel that you're necessarily excited about, but again, you need to finish this tower off so that you can go pressure somewhere else. And the faster you do that, the better. So again, big draw phase coming up for both players. SuperJJ looking for Annihilation. And these blue-based decks kind of live and die by that, right?
But even if he finds, he has to find the Fight Through the Pain as well for lane 1 to get initiative back, and then have the chance to survive a duel or Berserker's Call if anyone draws that as well. So both draws important. 1 to close out the game and 1 to survive for a little bit longer.
And, well, the curve at a minimum at least helps SuperJJ out before we see the draws. We see no help really for either. But Andy, I guess, gets help in the form of the Spring the Trap, right? helps that board go wide. That is a fairly big deal.
And it looks like it might be, I mean, you have the Blink Dagger on Legion as well to try and block lane 2, but it's looking really tricky for JJ now because you have a Blink on AndyWand's side as well to spring the trap to help in lane 2, and at any cost will do very little against the high health pools of these heroes and the Centaurs as well.
Yeah, and then to make matters worse, after this Emissary tap, you're going to lose everything in this lane, and you might even be worried about an Ancient the following turn. It is a very, very sticky situation for SuperJJ. Even if he draws an Annihilation next turn to finally try to stabilize, there's a chance he's going to need it in 2 different lanes, and he'll only have 1 blue hero. And that is one of the drawbacks when you run 2 blue heroes on decks that require at any cost or Annihilation to survive. So the blink does come down.
A gift from the quorum.
Emissary taking the rest of the team to the gym, pumping them up.
And this already shows that Spring the Trap will not be played in lane 1. Could have been an option to pressure the Ancient instead of the lane 2 and make JJ divide his attention between 2 towers instead of just 1, but I think Spring the Trap will be going to lane 2.
Yeah, I think Spring the Trap to lane 2 is the right path, right? You're again forcing SuperJJ to defend 2 different areas, and you know that they'll only have 1 blue hero. So this is very solid play by your boy Andy. Now, with him taking his time here, I was going to say the only thing he's considering is, do I blink? Do you like this play? Do you like blinking here?
Yeah, you spring first. You give, you widen the board before the Dark Seer comes in, so he can't really curve into, if he gets lucky in the 2 and 2. Well, now it could still happen. He could curve into Kana if he goes on the left of Treant, but it makes it so there has to be a blocker because a 17-4-23 Dark Seer is not going to be dying to a dual or Berserker's Call. There has to be either blocker or Annihilation, but I think this is a safe play. I like this even more, to be honest. If you go into lane 2, you kind of, if your opponent drew Annihilation, you're screwed a tiny bit. Whereas in this case, you're still defending and attacking, every single lane instead of just 1.
Yeah. Things go from bad to worse to worstest for SuperJJ because now, as you said, all 3 lanes under heavy pressure, and you have not found a single Annihilation, and you really want 3 of them at this point.
Yeah, and he could get an upkeep kill on the Centaur's next turn. Should be pretty valuable. And Kana can also survive with the Reptile Signet Ring. Even with Jasper Daggers and Ion Shell, it would survive by 1.
Yeah, and the Kana's pretty important because you'll want those melee creeps to come here to help soak. The question, though, is how long can you hold this off with this Axe here? Because this Axe without an Annihilation is just not going to die, and it's got a lot of siege damage it's pumping through.
This suits me.
All right, Signet Ring tells me we, much like you said, are likely to see at any cost here.
But if you do, then your Kana does die, so it's hard to decide. You could just get it off next turn, or you could time a Triumph as well if you're JJ. Would add some survivability to both your heroes. You see the pass instead from JJ.
Yeah, the pass. All right.
The Triumph in this lane would guarantee the kill on the tower. There's nothing to do here for AndyWand really to block that siege damage. He cannot answer back, so that might be the line of thought.
I was going to say, in all honesty as well, there's nothing else that SuperJJ is doing in this lane. So you might as well.
But all of a sudden, I mean, 20 damage on this tower this turn, so now every single lane, even though this one's been taken, is a problem for JJ, and there's only so many Annihilations you can draw next, and only so many blue heroes you have as well in your deck, so.
Yeah, at this point, you are in a bind. You've got this first lane where Ancient is being threatened. You've got the second lane with 6 health, and you have no Annihilation in hand. And you have a third lane where there are multiple Time of Triumph heroes, and if you draw an Annihilation for that second lane and you do manage to survive, you give away initiative. You haven't seen many duels or Berserker's Calls from your opponent, so you would have to assume they would have that for the third. It is not looking good.
That being said, only 1 lane needed for JJ. Lane 2 is quite low. but it's going to be very hard to push through that, I think, with 9 mana and no ramp. We'll see how he does it here, but it's, I mean, you can hope for a Time of Triumph on 3 heroes. That's 12 siege damage, but even then you're missing out on 4 more. And you're going to have counterplay from AndyWand as well, so.
Yeah, what? Well, all right. What do you think about this?
Well, Annihilation has to come down in lane 2, I think, for sure. The Bristleback can block some damage and maybe have some blockers.
But the problem is you completely abandon the 3rd lane. There's no presence there. So the Annihilation is found, but the only thing I can think of is that maybe SuperJJ was trying to force a tie in this 2nd lane. Like, why else would you put both your heroes there and nothing in the 3rd lane? You don't have a Blink Dagger in hand. You have no form of mobility. You know that's going to fall. That's it's a very weird deployment.
Well, only one hero in lane 2 is it has the Time of Triumph buff. So if you're JJ, you could have gotten the at any cost clear in lane 2 if for example, the Legionnaires played first, and then you still survive with the current draws at least. But then yeah, you need 2 blockers here. So yeah, I think it's impossible to win this game at this point without Blink Daggers.
Yeah, and that just makes things even worse. Man, everything came up Andy this game.
And this is just a checkmate from Andy. He blinks to lane 2 because he knows that if his opponent annihilates instantly, he wins in lane 3.
Yeah,
if his opponent waits it out, then he still has the chance for a duel or Berserker's Call, so your opponent can't really wait it out, so he can't blink either. So yeah, great play from AndyWand. Really just goes step by step, taking his time, thinking about every option, and at the end is a checkmate there where he knows that no matter what his opponent does, he's going to win no matter what. So again, I'm not too surprised. I knew him from before. I knew he was a very clean player, and he's showing it here.
When you were telling everybody, hey, I know this guy, he's pretty good.
The same with Mago. Mago made it through groups as well.
Were you factoring in that he was going to just Time of Triumph on turn 2 a few times?
Well, of course. I mean, when I say good, I mean he's good, but he's also lucky. You know, card game, that's how they work, I guess.
Yeah. Well, this is not a great opening for this poor Ogre. Lines up straight across from Bristleback, and Zeus is also across from Legion Commander in that 3rd lane. So things not necessarily in favor for Andy this time around. However, that's not a big deal when you're playing blue, right? You can lose all of your heroes in the 1st round and actually still be entirely fine.
And when you have Cunning Plan and Compel, well, things get a lot better as well because you can obviously dodge all these, bad flops early on. Your heroes can survive. You can get the Luna charges as well. You can get, the chance to make plays on turn 4, which is very important for setup with Sanctum, with Prey on the Weak, with Dimensional Portal, with maybe a Foresight if you draw it. Just start setting up your game plan for later on. And unfortunately, no Compel.
Yeah, I have a suspicion that Ignite will come down from that lane. Or not. Just playing it here. All right, so poor Zeus going down in the 1st round, but again, not that big of a deal, right? When you're playing blue, you could lose a number of heroes, and the tempo shift in the early game is very rarely that detrimental, right? Like if you spend a turn or 2 on the bench, you do fall behind, but unless it's against a hyper aggro deck, you're just not going to lose too much from the tower.
Now the Smash is a fantastic card for JJ. Going to be a great counter to the Sanctum. The best, I think one of the best targets for Smash in general.
Oh, and he picked up a Routed. So we did talk about how Routed, after some key annihilations or trades, is one of the best ways that you can fight this blue deck. So it is a one-of, but he's found it. Maybe the luck is shifting in SuperJJ's favor here.
Yeah, mono blue, you see heroes, dropping in and out of the fountain very often. They make very frequent visits, especially in the early turns. And if JJ can line it up so that he has, 3, 4, maybe even 5 of those heroes in the fountain at the same time, that could be just a game-winning play right there.
Yeah, the blue heroes are very frequent visitors of the fountain. That's why they're blue. They're thirsty. They're drinking all that water at the fountain.
The multicast, very strong there for Andy. The at any cost is an option for JJ, but he would be killing his Bronze Legionnaire, unfortunately. But still, I think a fairly good trade. Kills the Ogre as well.
Taking his time to think about it. And instead takes the goo on the Canna. All right. Now, the good news for Andy is you've already found 2 Annihilations, right? So we talked about the routed that was available.
I love this play. Sanctum onto the lane without a red hero. Very heads-up play by AndyWand. He knows that smash is a possibility, and this is just what I talk about. I mean, these small plays that normally, you don't even notice sometimes, but these are what separates good players from great players, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. It's normally the Blues' game plan to put Sanctum in the first lane and just kind of take control of that and ride it. That's also why you normally put Canna there, but as you said, recognized cannot be smashed here.
And now, at any cost, the Patience game goes to JJ. His Kana will survive with 2 HP. Will not die to the Ignite next turn either, so a big plus as well.
And Luna's only at 6 health, so this is not going to be the clear I was expecting. Okay.
So JJ saving that for later on. I guess he thinks he could find more value or more impactful value at a later stage in the game, coming to serve as like a pseudo Annihilation as well. We'll see if it pays off for him. I mean, that's a lot of damage that went through. The Dimensional Portal did stop some of it.
Yeah, it did stop some of it, but I was right there with you. You were going to be taking out the Luna. The only thing I can think of is you have this routed in hand, and you haven't drawn an Annihilation yet, and if routed is your key to victory, maybe you're saving that at any cost for when you can better set up routed because you couldn't play it that turn. That's a possibility.
I mean, lane 1, it could be good, but again, because there is not an Ignite, well, actually, the Kana has a -2 armor, so this at any cost looks very good. There were no items bought from AndyWand, and this would clear the entire lane, kill 2 heroes as well.
And leave both of your heroes alive.
Yeah.
And those heroes would still be at the fountain when you hit 6 for that routed.
AndyWand luckily does not play the Dimensional Portal here. Would have been a big mistake, I think. Plays a Foresight instead for card draw, finds the Annihilation and the Compel, and there's the at any cost. Clearing out 2 heroes and starting to set up this routed next turn.
This is, again, very fortunate for SuperJJ. Perhaps the luck is slowly shifting over to his side, getting all of the tools that he needs. And if this Luna were to go down there, again, potentially setting up a better routed, but yeah, there's a chance there could be a very impressive routed. So the following turn, when Berserker's Call opens up and you've got red heroes in all of these lanes, Berserker's Call is in a position where it might take care of Luna. If you draw something like a duel, that could do it as well. We could see a 3 or a 4 character routed if SuperJJ sets this up.
We're going to see a smash here. The response from Axe dropping into this lane 2.
Yes.
Take down the Sanctum just to guarantee that there are no more plays made. And this is a big thing because a lot of players, they normally sometimes play these more stally plays early on because they rely on the refresh of the Sanctum. But in this case, sometimes it can get kind of awkward if you expect it to make a different play later on, like a Dimensional Portal maybe, and then you can't make that play because the Sanctum is ripped out of your wall.
Now, I wouldn't be shocked if we see the portal come down here as a result, just to kind of slow things down, though. You may want to go with the Sanctum and say, okay, I just saw Smash go. I believe this list only runs 2. So, yeah, there is the Sanctum going down.
Could take a concussion shot as well to kill the Stonehaul League this turn. That's what's going to happen.
And actually, I was incorrect. There's only 1 Smash. So, now that it has been used, Andy's saying, okay, I wanted a Sanctum in the first lane, and I was trying to dodge Smash. Now that you've used it, I'm going to go ahead and throw this in the first lane where I wanted it to begin with.
Now, 2 blue heroes in the fountain for AndyWand. If JJ gets a little bit greedy and decides to try and, play out lane 2 first, get some more hero kills here with Berserker's Call, for example, if it's a possibility, and relies on Legion to get the routed off without initiative, he could be punished if AndyWand reads into this, finds a Mystic Flare, finds Annihilation maybe even if it's a 1-for-1 trade.
Even an Eclipse maybe, depending on the number of charges, yeah.
If you expect the routed, it could be worth it to just annihilate this lane if you want to block that red hero from pulling that off.
Wow. There was an arrow that was going over to that Zeus as well.
The Mystic Flare is huge.
Yeah, the Mystic Flare has the potential to be huge if Andy realizes what is going on, because I have to think that we are going to see... Well, we might not even see the Berserker's Call. With Luna so low, we could see Viscous Nasal Goo go down on that Zeus.
Yep.
There's a lot of ways that Andy prevents that Zeus from dying, though, with Dimensional Portal and things like that. But
and actually, Fight Through the Pain is in hand for JJ, so there might be an initiative war with Arcane Assault also in hand for AndyWand. We'll see how much he values playing around the Routed. Again, we see all the cards in both players' hands. These players are very much only seeing their hands, so it's hard to play around all these stuff, and Routed could be extremely impactful in the right situation. We'll see how it plays out. Time of Triumph also drawn for JJ there. A great pickup for later on.
And you'll also notice SuperJJ bought Obliterating Orb, so he's potentially thinking about blowing up the Sanctum. That's why he's likely taking his time instead of passing.
And that is a secret shop purchase.
Absolutely.
So the luck, like you said, maybe smiling on JJ for this game at least.
And doesn't use it yet.
The bamboozle aspect, we mentioned it before, of letting your opponent make a play and then taking it away could be huge next turn. We'll see if that's what JJ's going for. I think he definitely values taking down the Sanctum over the Ignite in this lane, for example.
Yeah, and the nice thing about Obliterating Orb as well is that you don't even need to have a hero in the lane to play it. So you can really bamboozle somebody, especially with a Sanctum play, with Obliterating Orb.
And we'll see how greedy both players get. No Sanctum here, so only one play to be made by AndyWand. Having initiative is almost a bad thing here, because if you make a play first, you now cannot play Arcane Assault. Your opponent plays, like you said, Viscous Nasal Goo. The Zeus dies. Well, the Compel saves a Luna, at least for now.
Well, and even going a step further here, a second blue spell will take care of the Canna with Zeus's passive. So SuperJJ, if he really wants to get this routed on at least 3 heroes, might just take the Berserker's Call to guarantee that Luna dies. You also clear some damage on the tower, and then you can route it from the following lane.
But if he does, no initiative, you cannot play that Fight Through the Pain with no mana, so it would be up to AndyWand to not, well, he only has the at any cost available, which isn't great in this situation, I think.
Yeah. Well, and again, if you Berserker's Call there, you give up initiative, but you would expect potentially Andy to play a card, right? I mean, we, again, know that he only has at any cost, but maybe SuperJJ was thinking, okay, he's going to play another card to kill the Canna, so. Bit of a mind game back and forth right now. Players trying to figure out the way to go. Do you think that SuperJJ plays the routed if he does not Berserker's Call here? Well, I guess it doesn't matter. We don't need to explore that line of play anymore.
There's a pass from AndyWand. Could be for other reasons, but definitely plays around the routed as well. In lane 3, we're going to expect a Mystic Flare there. With initiative, would kill the Legion in one go. And that changes things.
Yes.
But Annihilation is there, and a 2-for-1 trade is normally acceptable for Mono Blue.
Yeah, if you put him on the routed, which is a 1 of those. So this is going to be a real mind game for Andy.
I mean, if you put him on a second call as well, at 6 plus 8 damage going on a 24 HP tower, your first one's already under 20 HP as well. So this is about staying alive even for AndyWand. The upside of having red and blue is that you have these huge bodies to start dealing damage early, whereas blue relies on Dimensional Portal and putting on the weak to deal damage because the heroes don't have much attacking.
Yeah,
there it is.
There it is. Wow.
Annihilation stops that perfect routed on curve. Would have hit 3 heroes.
Andy
Instead,
with the big brain plays. Now, we're still pretty early in this game, but games that go against blue can sometimes stretch out. Can't help but notice that SuperJJ is getting a little bit lower on time, half the time available that Andy has.
And now AndyWand has 2 heroes coming back, so now only 2 heroes in the fountain, and the routed still okay, but loses some value. Now having to find, playing it now at turn 7, you're not playing it on curve, you're losing some value.
Well, and the other problem is that you can't even set it up further, right? Because your other 2 red heroes are at the fountain yourself. It's not like you can Berserker's Call that you just drew, for example, you clean up some heroes and then play routed again. So looks like that routed's going to stay on the bench for a bit.
Thunder God's Wrath in hand for AndyWand. He can multicast as well, but there is the Obliterating Orb to counter the Sanctum. Has to be careful how he plays that.
Yeah, that would be a very tempting Wrath, though, because it would take out 2 heroes. You may not play it, though. You're going to get an upkeep kill on that Canna from the Ignite. So you might just want to do something like develop a Dimensional Portal. Hope for a multicast and do something like that. Andy has quite a few options available here. and instead goes for the Mystic Flare.
Yep,
And
there's the orb
there's
now.
the orb.
The debate factor from JJ now maybe surprising AndyWand. Could have decided to play something else after this.
Well,
And
I
now
mean,
he
clearly,
cannot.
look at his face. Andy is super surprised.
A very stoic fellow. And this is the turning point. SuperJJ has, even though it is a control list, a bit more of an aggressive start because of the red
So do I
also
get
included in his
people
deck,
with
and now AndyWand has been able to stall this out successfully. Has, you know, the damage mitigated on the towers.
All right, JJ making that third lane a bit more exciting. Again, kind of trying to pressure there and pressure this first lane.
Might see a blink here from AndyWand. From the Ogre possibly into that third lane.
Open with this.
Yeah, with the dagger coming down, I would have to believe that's where Ogre is going, because you'll open up, again, maybe Dimensional Portal there to stall a little bit, hope for a multicast, get some value out of it. And despite all of the things going JJ's way, great play by Andy is keeping him in this game. The longer it goes, the more I think it favors this mono blue list.
You wanted my attention. Well, now you have it.
SuperJJ, as we kind of look ahead here, does have Time of Triumph next round.
Now the Ignite can come down onto the last lane, which means that at any cost, followed by something like a Prey on the Weak, could happen, or Dimensional Portal, and the upkeep kill with the Ignite ticking both this turn and the next would kill both of these Centaurs. We see on the first lane instead, also an option.
Yeah. As I was getting ready to say, SuperJJ has Time of Triumph and has 2 more red heroes coming down. Do you think Andy, just like he did before, puts 2 and 2 together if JJ super stacks that first lane? Like if he puts all 3 red heroes there on mana turn 8, is that an instant annihilation?
Oh, for sure.
I think Axe is going there at a minimum, right? Because you have the Blink Dagger, so if you do play Time of Triumph and then want to, you can get out, right? Bail. And Legion going... I'm surprised by the middle. If you're trying to like slow pressure that right lane, I'm kind of surprised that Legion's going to this middle lane here. Maybe this is trying to be defensive, right? Berserker's Call and clear some of that up. It's an interesting deployment.
Now initiative in favor of AndyWand. The Ignite also taking here to deal some damage to Zeus, or to Axe and to Bristleback.
All right, a second Time of Triumph picked up for SuperJJ.
Now the Wrath isn't fantastic. The 12 health on Legion makes it, you know, dissuades AndyWand a tiny bit. Bristleback would die though.
Now, depending on how this goes, SuperJJ could, I was going to say, could get the opportunity to Time a Triumph and then blink and then time again, but Thunder God's Wrath changing the game.
I think you do still go for it probably. I mean, if you have 2 heroes in the middle lane, you're going to be cleaving through a lot, killing a lot of those heroes.
Good kind
Yeah.
is going
Yeah.
to write about
Or even just leaving the Axe here, because it'll kill the Kana, it'll cleave a lot of damage onto the Luna, and it'll clear some of this lane as well. And as long as the lanes are above 20, you're not, you know, incredibly scared against Mono Blue.
Yeah, as long as you are out of Bolt of Damocles range, you can breathe a bit of a sigh of relief, but every little bit of damage gets you that much closer to it, right? We always talk about how Mono Blue likes that chip damage, meaning you're slowly chipping away at the health, trying to get it low enough so that you can quickly finish it off. And Revtel Signet Ring going down on the Kana. Might just be planning for later, reducing some gold, granted.
Salamene provides.
And with Time of Triumph online, Berserker's Call becomes a lot more attractive every turn of this game, because you have these enormous just walls of combat stats and the Routed as well. You're going to find more kills, which means Routed should be an easier option later on. But positioning is really bad here for Legion. Berserker's Call not an option. Could be Time of Triumph, but you're taking so much damage, and your opponent still has 8 mana up. So yeah, this is risky though.
So that's back-to-back one-man Time of Triumphs by SuperJJ.
Prey on the Weak and Dimensional Portal, I think, will be very close to taking down this tower. There's 3 or 6 total, so 12 damage coming through. You have 1 Maul, so it'll be 2 off, I believe.
Yeah. But I do like going very aggressive here because you have no Bolt of Damocles in hand, but if you can take one tower down the old-fashioned way, right, then you only need to draw one more bolt to kind of finish off another lane. So I like being aggressive here. I think this is a great plan by Andy.
Oh, it's exact lethal, so
it's exact lethal with them all. Okay.
the math was off. It's close, though.
That's okay.
And now, like you said, this is the traditional tower take, and it's still scary. It's still pretty wide, so you have to be careful for the Ancient kill as well. We saw it before where Mono Blue beat Storm by killing the Ancient, and Ogre not doing too much here. He can just be, you know, a walking stick of initiative, really. Just play Arcane Assault from this lane, guarantee initiative for the first lane, and have control over that. And that should probably be the target for the Bolt. If it is drawn, still 2 mana, you know, needed, or 2 turns needed for that to come online once it's drawn, but you don't have Sanctums, you don't have Cycle in hand, so you still have 19 cards in deck, and you have 1 Bolt, so it's definitely not a guarantee for Andy. Yeah,
it's not a guarantee, but the good news is, right now, despite 2 Time of Triumphs being played, and despite a lot of things going SuperJJ's way, you still have all of your towers alive. I mean, yeah, you got this third lane pretty low, that first lane pretty low, but the fact that you haven't dropped a single tower and you're on mana turn 8 is typically a good thing if you're a blue player.
There's a solve on the Centaur. I like it a lot, something you don't see every day, but it keeps the pressure on this lane. 2 of those Centaurs survive. And with 8 damage every turn without any creeps there, that could be huge.
All right, hear me out. Berserker's Call right now on that Legion commander clears up 2 blue units potentially. So I would be tempted, if there's blockers played and I cannot take this first tower, I would actually be tempted to blink that axe all the way to the right so that I could set up a 4-man routed if I were SuperJJ. So
it's risky though. I mean, you have to defend this first tower. 26 HP, next turn is
You do have
Bolt.
to defend it, which is why I think that he has decided to put the Canna here. Originally had it to the right, but again, I think that's tempting because as we've said, if you can get a big routed on a blue player and just delay the Bolt, right? Because it doesn't matter if you're at 20 or less if they can't play the Bolt.
I think we might see Annihilation here though. 2 for 1, or Eclipse even, yeah.
Or Eclipse, okay.
7 charges. Luna's been alive for a long time, so full clear of the board. Can push through. Well, can almost push through the 20 damage. Going to be left at 21, unfortunately. That could be a huge thing. A really big thing for anyone, actually, or for JJ, rather.
Could be a really big thing.
Routed can help
Man, this
on
routed
2 heroes to stop the Bolt from coming in next turn if it's drawn.
Yeah, this route is just kind of like teasing SuperJJ. You did find like the 1 card you want in this matchup, but you've just been unable to properly set it up.
No blink in hand, so you cannot guarantee.
Who can stand against
But you're pushing damage in every lane now. 13. This one's on 20. It's going to be, you know, free for all here for the Ogre to do whatever it wants. You have to play on the weak as well. The Ignite is not going to be hitting anything. There's no Ignite on this lane, so only 1 Hound should be coming out.
You are pressuring, but we've seen a few times in this tournament, if you have 1 health on a tower and you're a blue player, you have all of your health on the tower if you're a blue player. They can stall for seemingly forever at times.
So Fight Through the Pain comes down. JJ wants the initiative for later on. Could have been a huge thing. We're going to see here. You could play double Ignites, but you'll be losing the initiative.
Yeah,
so
if you play that Fight Through the Pain, you've got something in mind. This makes an awful lot of sense.
Now 2 heroes coming down for AndyWand. I think he will be probably playing maybe 1 in each lane.
This is going to be a really big draw for Andy because if he finds a Bolt, even though it's not going to 100% secure it immediately, there's enough presence in that first lane that if SuperJJ doesn't have an answer, you could close out the game, right? So I like the Ogre going in that lane with the Blink Dagger. And we're awaiting the draws.
Annihilation also a good draw for AndyWand for that last lane to reset it.
Well, AndyWand has Annihilation in hand.
Berserker's Call would not do enough unless an item is equipped, and at that point you'd be losing initiative, so it'll be a chance for the Eclipse to just clear it all.
Yeah, that's another really
8
big
charges
Eclipse.
on Eclipse, so
Yeah, doing the quick math, 8 times 3 is
24.
24.
Will be enough to clear this bristleback by quite a bit.
If you want.
If JJ decides to try and go for the Berserker's Call, has to equip, well, now it's not even that great, so.
Yeah. Oh, I like that flask inside. You can save the Eclipse, maybe get more value. Maybe even use it to slow down that third lane instead of the Annihilation.
And the perfect mana here for Eclipse plus the Sanctum to refresh. Yep. Or
could just be Mystic Flare. I liked what Andy was trying to do there. Obviously, the flask countered it. That's a big value flask. Jumping all the way up to 22 health on that bristleback.
I feel the power.
Sanctum still comes down.
we could still see Eclipse here after the refresh.
Yeah, Eclipse would actually still deal with this 22 health bristleback.
And you could play Eclipse plus Arcane Assault. You have an issue for the last lane. You found the Annihilation as well, so you have the chance to.
Let's pick a fight,
Yeah.
shall we?
And this is going to be probably the blink from Bristleback before the refresh comes in.
So there is the refresh, and Bristleback is going to bail out, I would think.
Could help pushing the damage on this lane, but again, without a fight through the pain, you can't really take back initiative for the last lane, so maybe it doesn't make too much sense. Eclipse, I think, should come down here from AndyWand just to guarantee some more damage on this tower.
Well, I can understand holding off simply because if you're not going to secure the tower, but you're already doing enough to get it below 20, you are, kind of leaving your resources there. All right, so instead we see a blink out by Andy. And SuperJJ still passes. Okay. Doesn't follow, doesn't want to go to that third lane. Just probably happy that you get 10 extra damage getting this that much closer. Going down to 3, but with initiative available, Andy will still be able to defend that third lane. So not at risk yet. And Routed finally comes down. One thing I need to point out, I have to mention this. SuperJJ, we talked about it a little bit earlier with the time. 1 second.
Oh, he has to be very careful.
So he has to be fast with all of these plays going for the rest of this round.
So Eclipse comes down here instead, has way more than enough charges to kill everything on the board, so very smart here from AndyWand. And now if JJ cannot resolve the second lane with a kill spell onto the Kana, there's no Arcane Assault here yet. Yeah, there's not going to be anything here.
Yeah.
Annihilation can come down from AndyWand and clear, and reset 2 lanes actually, so take some damage on lane 1 for the effort.
That's not a fast action, SuperJJ. You gotta, whoa! You gotta do something faster than that, buddy. Oh, making my heart skip a beat.
And we see it here, 7 on the third lane, 3 on the first lane. But the Bolt, well, initiative is in favor of JJ. That being said, Luna with the 18 health thanks to Stonehall Cloak will survive Berserker's Call.
All right, so again, time ticks down during the deploy phase. That's something we talked about during the last WePlay tournament as like a PSA for players. And
Forced surrender in
SuperJJ, again, I mentioned it earlier, kind of low on time. Andy looks low on time, but this is a spectator thing. He's got 30 more seconds. It's just not showing up yet until the deploy finishes. So JJ down to just 10 seconds going in. You get a bit of a buffer each time you're given the coin, but that is something to manage as we are in, deep turns.
The Bolt not drawn, so the win condition's still not exactly here for AndyWand. He still has the Ancient, under a lot of pressure.
Yeah. He's got the Ancient under pressure, and honestly, he's still kind of pressuring this. And
the time.
Whoa!
So another stall from JJ. Kana still coming in next turn, so there is a chance for anyone to just keep initiative and still find the Bolt next turn.
JJ has a lot more faith in these actions resolving, right, when he plays cards than I do. Because he is going to the wire every time. Every time, wow.
The Bolt's still not found for AndyWand. Still looking for it. Still not found. 6 cards left in the deck.
6 cards left in the deck. Meanwhile, 0 seconds left on the clock for SuperJJ. Heart skipping a beat every time it comes back to him.
Berserker's Call comes in. Deals 18 damage to the tower. Still not enough for lethal.
Here.
None of these towers down yet, even after.
Like I said, if you have 1 health on your tower, you have all of your health on your tower. If you are a blue player, this is a very close game, very back and forth. And I got to hand it to Andy. The start that SuperJJ had was very much in his favor. And Andy has stalled this game out and is very close to securing a victory if he can just find a bolt.
And they should be almost guaranteed. Arcane Assault next turn with Zeus here can guarantee initiative and a draw. And then 2 draws next turn as well. 6 cards left in the deck for AndyWand.
And Arcane Assault's going to cycle to find 1 more, so...
No multicast possibility with Zeus here, but there's a very high chance, a 50% chance to find it, right, with 3 draws and 6 cards.
If you play the Arcane Assault, then you have a 50% chance of just winning. And so here's the Arcane Assault. Are we there yet?
We're not.
We are not. But we're going to be at 12, and there's a cunning plan.
5 cards left in the deck. 2 cards drawn at the start of this action phase in lane 1.
Oh, creeps go there, so the cunning plan can come down, and with 12, there's a chance, right, that you could still find Bolt.
No Berserker's Call left. Still 3 duels, though. The duel from Legion with Time of Triumph onto Kana with -2 armor would kill it if the Bolt isn't found immediately.
There's the duel, okay.
And the Bolt is found, and AndyWand will be taking this game 12 HP on lane number 1, initiative in favor of AndyWand.
And there it is.
And that is a clean 2-0 sweep of SuperJJ in a very tense.
Look, a little bit of a smile there. He knows he's going.
JJ under time pressure as well, but in the end, you know, we talk about consistency. When you draw your entire deck, or almost all of it, there's a pretty good chance to draw that last Bolt, and a very tense game there. Control, the back and forward, you know, the very long game, but still, AndyWand finds a way out and wins that series 2-0.
Absolutely. Congratulations, Andy. You are going on to the bracket.
Panel, thoughts on that last, on that great finish there?